Thanks for joining me for this week's quick business tip. Today we are starting our spooky series. So I absolutely love everything about fall and Halloween. Got my little jack-o'-lantern back there. I am ready to go, and I wanted to do a special series about all of the spooky things having to do with marketing, sales, and just generally running your own business. So today we are going to talk about the web of lies. We are going to unveil some marketing myths that are ruining your success and scaring you into believing that you just can't do it. So the first scary thing we have is the belief that there is such a thing as overnight success, when reality is that consistent effort is what is going to give you that long-term growth. Even when you see people that it seems like they kind of came out of nowhere and just one day they were this like everywhere, selling everything, incredibly successful, that person has probably spent, I mean, and I've never met anyone who hasn't, years and years and years working up to that point where they just seemingly came out of nowhere and became that overnight star. So what does consistent effort look like? It's going to be different for every business, every person, every goal. But just to give you an idea, consistency for me right now is spending 1 hour every day, 5 days a week, posting on 3 social media platforms, engaging with my audience, responding to DMs. And by engaging, I'm talking about like reading, responding, liking, sharing, commenting on their posts, only the ones that speak to me. I'm also posting stories 3 days a week. I do a weekly podcast and a weekly YouTube video. I attend 2 in-person networking groups a month with at least one virtual. I regularly schedule speaking opportunities where I am talking to people in my target audience. I do guest podcasting. I send weekly nurture emails to my leads and my current and past clients, in addition to regular, thoughtful outreach to my Dream 100 list of clients. Now, while this list seems like a lot, it's also very, 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 very manageable. My podcast and my YouTube channel are the same. I use clips from the YouTube to create the stories and reels on social media. I use a similar, I guess, line of thinking. Like so this month we're having a spooky series in our podcast. And this month I'm also going to expand. So it's not like it's a verbatim email to my clients, but I'm expanding on the same ideas that I'm talking about. So I'm not creating 1,000 different things that I'm talking about. I'm using basically one very nice long form piece of content and then adding to it, pulling clips from it, all these kind of things, so that it's not like I'm creating 1,000 pieces of content. I'm creating really one main piece of content and then using it 1,000 different places by making tweaks and adjustments. So hopefully that makes sense and makes the consistency feel a little more doable. But I also want to let you know that I have been at this for about 15 months now. This type of like this level of consistency, especially with my personal branding, for 15 months. And I am just now getting a much larger influx of people coming into my sphere of influence, noticing me. And it's funny because a lot of people are like, man, I don't know if you just started posting recently or what, but I am seeing you everywhere. I've been doing that level of posting for 15 months. So the boogeyman of overnight success, the perception of it is real, but it's certainly not real. Um, the second spooky thing that we're talking about today is the perfect piece of marketing. I'm going to tell you right now, I have been working in the marketing industry for over 24 years. And perfection doesn't exist. Marketing isn't black and white. You're never going to get it absolutely perfect. There's always room for improvement. It's an art and it is trial and error. And so it is so important to just embrace that imperfection because done is better than perfect. If you are tweaking and reshooting videos and reworking your lead magnet and spending 2 hours on one social media post to get it perfect, you have just wasted so much time. And if you go back and look at a video that you produced or one of your stories or the last free training that you offered, and you think that it's amazing, chances are you probably waited too long to do it in the first place. Messy is good. Messy is real. People can relate to messy. And even if your target audience feels like they have it all together and they're perfect and everything else, they're still human. When it comes down to it, we're all humans selling to other humans, and the messy and the authentic and the just get it out there and get it done is going to get you a lot farther than waiting and editing and trying way too hard to make it perfect, because the reality is it's never going to be perfect. So get over all the spooky that you're feeling in there, jump right into your uncomfortable zone and put out whatever it is that you've been putting off. Now, our third scary for today is vanity metrics. So we all know that it is such a huge high when you see your likes and your comments going through the roof. And Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn are all there to help remind you how amazing it is that your impressions are up 70% from last week. But the reality is, likes and comments and shares and follows don't pay the rent. You really need to get over all the fangirl metrics and really focus on meaningful engagements, building relationships with the right people, and using those connections to drive sales. But be on the lookout for commission breath, because it's really easy for people to say, okay, cool, I'm not going to focus on vanity metrics. I'm going to build engagement. And by building engagement, they tend to just what I call vomit pitch. So like the first message is like, hey, I saw that you're following me on LinkedIn. Thanks so much. Here's what I do. Are you ready to buy? That's not how we make relationships, right? Like, would you ever walk up to somebody in a restaurant or at a wedding and say, hey, I saw that like you were sitting on the bride's side. Me too. I'm in marketing. Do you want to buy my program? Like, nobody does that. So why are so many people in such a hurry to do it when it comes to social media or when it comes to some other kind of online engagement? Why are we all programmed to do it when we show up at networking events? This is just like, don't. So stay away from the scary vanity metrics, but also don't fall into commission breath. There is a middle ground where you are building long-term relationships, really listening to your followers and your engagement, and seeing if there's anything that you can offer them that is going to fix a problem that they're telling you they have. Now, I'm not saying don't ever make the sale, because you'll also hear me in other videos talking about you need a clear call to action. I'm actually going to talk about it in this episode. A clear call to action is absolutely necessary. You have to tell them what comes next, but it shouldn't be the first thing that comes out of your mouth either. So there's a balance. And this goes back to marketing and sales being an art and being trial and error and being something that you can always make improvements on. So we've gone through 3 scaries today so far. First, we have the myth of the overnight success. Second is the myth of the perfect marketing piece. And the third is vanity metrics. Now on to number 4, we have bright shiny object syndrome. This is when you watch a webinar, watch a YouTube video, go to a training, see some kind of probably paid ad on social media, and think, that's it. That is the thing that is going to make all of the difference in my business. The reality is it's not. It's just a lie. It's the boogeyman that's hiding under your bed. It's the clown that's back in the corner, like telling you, "Come here, pretty girl. I have a balloon and candy for you." It's a distraction. And it is much, much better if you stay focused on one core strategy that you know will work. Here's the trick. How do you know that your strategy is going to work? The best way is to learn from someone who's done what you are trying to do. So whether they've done it themselves, whether you are learning from colleagues, other leaders in your industry that have gone before you and they are further along than you are, or if you are learning from a company, a consultancy, an agency that has worked with other businesses in your industry and gotten them to a place that you want to be, that's how you know. That's the one of the only ways to know for sure that your strategy is going to work. And the strategy that I teach my clients is that you need to choose one. Choose one target audience. Choose one social media platform when you're starting out. Now, I work on 3 right now, but I've been doing this for 24 years. So start with one target audience, one platform, one core message. So it's not like it's the only thing that you're ever going to say, but you're always going to come back to that one core message. Everything else comes off of that one core message. You're going to have one core call to action. For me, it's schedule a strategy session. And I even had someone come to my website and be like, "Oh, well, you like, it seems like all you have on here is schedule a strategy session." I think, yeah, that's the next step. That is the only next step. Now, I do have some what we call transitional call to actions, which are actually lead magnets. But when you're starting out, one call to action and one lead magnet, because somebody might not be ready to schedule a strategy session, but for them to get a little more of a taste of you, for them to trust you a little more, for them to get to know you a little better, you have this ebook, PDF, video series, whatever it is. They give you their email address, you give them this free offer. But choose one of each of these that all align with each other. So your target audience that you choose spends their time on this platform. So that's the one that you spend your time on. When you're spending your time there, you're focusing on your one core message and your one core call to action and your one free offer lead magnet type of thing. If you just choose one of all of those and see it all the way through, obviously keep improving on it. Learn from conversations that you're having with your target audience. Maybe they want something that your lead magnet isn't providing. So maybe you need to tweak your lead magnet, adjust it, change it, completely turn it on its head. But stay in that lane. Don't get distracted by all of the pretty signs and the exits on the highway, right? This is the lane, and this is what's going to get you there. And then when you feel like you've become the go-to expert, you've got this. You're on cruise control. You've set your hands-free situation on your Tesla. You are just like coasting down the highway, right? Then you can go back in and you can choose one more. So maybe you keep the same target audience, but add a platform. Maybe you add a different lead magnet. Maybe you want to expand into a new target audience. And then you need to find out what platform they're on, what message resonates with them, what the core call to action is going to be, and what lead magnet is going to attract them more than anyone else. You see how this works? So it doesn't have to be scary, but let's try to avoid bright, shiny object syndrome as much as possible. The last spooky scary that we have for today is the thought process that I'm not good enough, I can't do this. And we are just going to shove that thought out the 13th floor window. Okay? We don't want anything to do with imposter syndrome, but imposter syndrome is one of the most tenacious mindsets that exists out there. Even businesses and business owners that have 7- and 8-figure businesses, imposter syndrome comes right back in that window that they shoved it out of multiple times before. So just remember, it happens to everyone. You've got this. You are so much better than you think you are. You have put in the time, the effort, you've invested in yourself and your business, and imposter syndrome can just take a hike. The other thing that is helpful to me when I start feeling imposter syndrome is that I know that there are other marketing agencies out there that are not really taking care of their clients. They are using a lot of AI. They are leaning heavily on cookie cutter type tactics. They're not creating for their clients what I can create for them. Not because I'm special, just because I care deeply. And I have spent almost my entire life invested into this focus. And so if I don't put myself out there, if I don't do everything I can and be consistent as possible to reach the clients that I'm trying to reach, then somebody who isn't going to care for them nearly as much will reach them and will not help their business grow and could even make their business fail. So I need to, as quickly as possible, get over my imposter syndrome so that I can help these businesses become the level of success that they've always dreamed of. And the same is for you. Whether you are a custom home builder, a realtor, running a med spa, if you are a life coach, a personal trainer, I know that you have your client's best interest at heart, or you would not be wasting your time on listening to my content. And because you have your client's best interest at heart, you are the best person for them. And if you don't put yourself out there and become consistent with your personal branding, promote your website, guest speak on podcasts, whatever you need to do to reach your ideal client, somebody else will, and they won't do nearly as good a job for this person as you can. So let's review really quickly the 5 spooky scaries that we are just gonna not deal with for the rest of the year, right? We are going to stop believing that there is such a thing as overnight success. We're going to stop believing that perfect marketing is anything that can even kind of be attained. We are going to throw all the vanity metrics out the window. We are going to stay super focused on the one single lane that we are driving in and ignore all of the bright, shiny objects. And we are going to banish imposter syndrome and focus on what we are providing for our client and knowing that we are doing the best that we can and we are probably better than we think we are. Please join me for next week. We're going to have more spooky scaries. I am Jennifer with Limitless Impact Agency.